Hey guys, welcome back to it. This video is on the problem of evil. How does one reconcile the existence of evil and God at the same time? Without any further ado, let's get to it. The problem of evil refers to the challenge of reconciling belief in an omniscient, omnipotent, and omnibenevolent God with the existence of evil and suffering in the world. Evil and suffering include things like pain, death, and illness. It claims that such things are not compatible with an all-loving, omniscient, and omnipotent God. The Inconsistent Triad, introduced by J.L. Mackie, is an argument against the concept of an all-powerful and all-loving God, whilst suffering persists. The existence of suffering alongside an all-loving and all-powerful God are argued to be contradictory. The Inconsistent Triad is a modified version of the Epicurean argument for the problem of evil, and it goes like so. Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he is impotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Whence then is evil? The logical problem of evil can be represented in the form of a deductive argument. Deductive reasoning, also known as deductive logic, is the process of reasoning from one or more statements, which are known as premises, to reach a logically certain conclusion. If the premises are true, then we must accept the conclusion. However, if any of the premises are false, then the entire argument fails. In this case, the argument is structured as follows. Premise 1. Evil and suffering exists. Premise 2. God is all-loving and all-powerful. Premise 3. An all-loving and all-powerful God, if such exists, would remove all evil and suffering. Therefore, the conclusion, an all-loving and all-powerful God does not exist. Let's try to invalidate this argument. Let's go to the first premise. Evil and suffering exist. Evil is defined as a profoundly immoral and wicked, or profound immorality and wickedness. Natural evil is evil for which no non-divine agent can be held morally responsible for its occurrence. This refers to things such as natural disasters or illnesses that humanity is not directly responsible for. Others reason that evil is not a thing that exists in of itself, simply that it is the absence of good. This is analogous to how darkness is the absence of light. However, is it reasonable to say evil and suffering don't exist? Is it an evasion of addressing the matter? Let's look at the second premise. God is all-loving and all-powerful. Many proponents of the mainstream religions would agree with this statement. This may be despite what the doctrines of the specific religions attribute to God. For most theists, this is the textbook definition of God and what God is. This, however, does not apply to deism. Deism is the belief in the existence of a supreme being, specifically a creator, who does not intervene in the universe. And some religions hold that God is not all-powerful, therefore the argument would fail in this case. The third premise. An all-loving and all-powerful God, if it exists, would remove all evil and suffering. It is argued that God does not remove evil and suffering to serve a bigger purpose. Also, for one to experience God good, one must understand evil. Making a world without evil is logically impossible. This is analogous to having hot without cold, up without down, and so on. If we grant this, we are faced with the evidential problem of evil. The evidential problem of evil is the problem of determining whether, and if so, to what extent, the existence of evil in certain circumstances, kinds, quantities, or distributions of evil constitutes evidence against the existence of God. That is to say, a being perfect in power, knowledge, and goodness. Simply put, why is there so much evil? For example, burning on a hot stove may teach one to be careful about handling stoves. But what good comes out of the death of millions during a war or mass genocide? That summarizes the argument for the logical problem of evil. A theodicy is the vindication of divine providence and the view of existence of evil. It is the arguments that attempt to justify the existence of God and evil. The Augustinian Theodicy. This theodicy is named after Saint Augustine of Hippo. Augustine's theodicy can be summarized as follows. God is perfect. The world he created reflects that perfection. Humans were created with free will. Sin and death entered through the world through Adam and Eve and their disobedience. Adam and Eve's disobedience brought about disharmony in both humanity and creation. The whole of humanity experiences this disharmony because we are all seemingly present in the loins of Adam. Natural evil is a consequence of this disharmony of nature brought about by the fall. God is justified in not intervening because the suffering is a consequence of human action. A modern advocate of Augustine's view can be found in Alvin Plantinga's Good, Freedom and Evil, who claim that for God to have created a being who could only have performed good actions would have been logically impossible. Augustine held that there was a state of ignorant bliss in the Garden of Eden which was unbalanced by the fall. This is at odds with Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. If God can be held responsible for the system by which the natural world works, he should be held responsible for the suffering that the system causes. Augustine's theodicy puts all blame on humans first, yet all suffer. Why should people suffer for the misdemeanors of past generations? Augustine makes much of the idea of hell as part of creation. Therefore, God must be directly responsible for its creation, and therefore must have foreseen the need for punishment. Friedrich Schleiermacher argues that it is a contradiction for a perfect world to go wrong. Either the world was not perfect to begin with, or God enabled it to go wrong. This can be extended to perfect things. How can perfectly created people do wrong? It is also a contradiction. Either they were imperfect, or God enabled them to do wrong. This is analogous to the creation of parallel lines. If one claims to have created parallel lines that meet, it is either the lines were not parallel to begin with, or if they were enabled to meet somehow. It is not the fault of the lines if they fail to be parallel.
My dream has a wallet full of blue-faced Mandelas with a 50 just endeavor to brighten up my treasure. Looking for some closure, capture pictures, keep composure. Hanging up on pictures, capture pictures, gun enclosure. Come up ain't pugnacious, free throw, I'm patient. 3 points, no aging. Fuck is building greatness like Da Vinci in his prime. I'm from gold in my mind, riding belts in this mind, crystal clear. Oh, fine, perch given to my home. Big bang, I'm the bone. Sunshine on my dome. Setbacks couldn't set me back. Fairy tales in my raps, happy endings in my path. Dead bodies in my racks, dead bodies in my ranks. Feel my